On a warm summer evening, in a lively neighborhood known for its festivals and community gatherings, an unsettling scene unfolded. A crowd had gathered to celebrate, with families enjoying food stalls, music playing, and laughter filling the air. Among them was a black lawyer who was not just a legal professional, but also a devoted member of the community. He often participated in local events, believing that every voice mattered and that justice should extend beyond the courtroom. As the festivities continued, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The sound of laughter was suddenly interrupted by the shouts of a police officer. The lawyer watched in disbelief as the officer forcefully apprehended a young man, dragging him to the ground. The scene was chaotic. Bystanders gasped, some screamed in alarm, while others pulled out their phones, recording the unsettling encounter. The lawyer felt a surge of anger and concern. He had seen too many instances of excessive force, especially against young black men, and he couldn't remain silent. He knew that, as a lawyer, he had a responsibility to stand up for what was right. After a moment of hesitation, he approached the scene, calmly asking the officer to reconsider his approach. He identified himself as a lawyer and asked to speak with the young man who was being detained. However, the officer dismissed him, insisting that he stay back. The lawyer's heart raced. He wanted to help, but also understood that his presence could escalate the situation further. Instead, he began documenting the incident, snapping pictures and taking notes. He spoke to other witnesses, gathering their accounts of what they had seen. This was not just about one young man. It was about a pattern of behavior that had to be addressed. Once the dust settled and the young man was taken away, the lawyer felt a mixture of relief and frustration. He knew he had to take action. The following day, he decided to file a formal complaint against the police department. He believed that change was possible, but it required accountability. He meticulously prepared a report detailing the incident, emphasizing the need for the police to be held responsible for their actions. With the report in hand, he submitted his complaint, hopeful that the police would recognize the seriousness of the situation. Days turned into weeks, and he anxiously awaited a response. But what he received was disheartening. The police department sent back a dismissive reply, indicating that they saw no reason to investigate further. It felt like a slap in the face. He was shocked by their lack of concern, especially as he knew this would not be the first time a complaint like his had been swept under the rug. Frustrated and disheartened, the lawyer reflected on his own experiences. He thought about the countless people from his community who had faced similar dismissals. It became clear to him that this was more than just an isolated incident. It was part of a larger issue of systemic racism and the challenges that many in his community faced when seeking justice. In a moment of clarity, the lawyer remembered that he was not just any citizen. He served on the State Bar Committee, where he could leverage his position to bring about real change. This was an opportunity to shine a light on the broader issues of police accountability and community trust. With renewed determination, he began to plan his next steps, ready to transform his frustration into action. After receiving the dismissive reply from the police department, the lawyer felt a mix of disappointment and determination. He understood that simply being a lawyer was not enough. He needed to be an advocate for change. The words from the police stuck with him. They didn't see the need for an investigation. It was a painful reminder of how often complaints from people in his community were overlooked or ignored. Realizing that he could not let this issue fade away, he decided to take action. He called a meeting with other members of the State Bar Committee. The committee was made up of dedicated individuals who cared about justice and fairness, and he knew they would understand the importance of this matter. He prepared for the meeting by gathering all the evidence he had collected, including his notes, photographs, and witness statements. He wanted to present a clear picture of what happened and why it mattered. When the meeting day arrived, he felt a sense of urgency. As he walked into the room, he saw familiar faces, all serious and ready to listen. He began by recounting the incident he had witnessed, explaining how the police officer used excessive force and how the community felt frightened and unheard. He shared the details of his complaint and the frustrating response from the police department. The members of the committee listened intently, nodding in agreement as he spoke. He could see the concern on their faces, and it gave him hope. They discussed the systemic issues of police misconduct and how often complaints like his were dismissed, especially in communities of color. The conversation grew more passionate as they shared their own experiences and the stories they had heard from others in the community. Finally, the committee reached a consensus. They needed to take a stand. They decided to draft a formal letter to the police department, urging them to reconsider their approach to handling complaints, especially those that involved claims of excessive force. The letter would emphasize the importance of accountability and the need for a transparent investigation process. It was a small step, but it felt significant. With the letter drafted and approved, they sent it off to the police chief, expressing their commitment to working together for a safer and fairer community. The lawyer felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that change would not happen overnight, but this was a step in the right direction. Meanwhile, he felt a growing need to involve the community in this conversation. He reached out to local leaders and organizations that focused on civil rights. He shared his experience and the actions the State Bar Committee was taking. They agreed to hold a community forum where residents could come together, share their experiences, and discuss ways to improve relations with the police. As the date for the forum approached, excitement and anxiety filled the air. He wondered if people would come out to speak or if they would feel too discouraged to share their stories. On the day of the event, the community center buzzed with energy. Residents arrived, some with children, others with friends, and the atmosphere was electric with hope. During the forum, people spoke candidly about their experiences with law enforcement. Stories poured out, revealing a pattern of fear, misunderstanding, and, at times, hostility. The lawyer listened intently, feeling a deep sense of connection to each story. He saw how these experiences affected lives, families, and the community as a whole. It was powerful and heartbreaking. By the end of the evening, there was a palpable sense of solidarity among the attendees. They began to discuss solutions, ways to create dialogue with the police, and how to advocate for their rights more effectively. The lawyer felt a surge of inspiration. He realized that change was not just about one person. It was about the community coming together to demand accountability and justice. As the community forum came to a close, the atmosphere was charged with hope and determination. The lawyer felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished. People were eager to take action and hold the police accountable. He could see that the discussion had sparked something important within the community. This wasn't just about one complaint anymore. It was about creating a movement for justice. After the forum, the lawyer decided to stay in touch with the attendees. He created a small group of dedicated community members who wanted to continue the conversation. They called themselves the Community Justice Alliance, and their goal was to work together to address issues of police misconduct and advocate for better treatment of all community members. They planned to meet regularly to share updates, discuss strategies, and keep the momentum going. During their meetings, they brainstormed various ideas. One of the first suggestions was to organize a peaceful march. The lawyer knew that a march could draw attention to their cause, showing the police and the city officials that the community was united in demanding change. He explained how a march could highlight their concerns while also emphasizing the need for dialogue and understanding between the police and the community. As they planned the march, the group began reaching out to other local organizations, schools, and churches. They wanted to ensure that as many people as possible could join in and make their voices heard. Flyers were made, social media posts were created, and word started to spread. People were excited and supportive, wanting to be part of something bigger than themselves. On the day of the march, the energy was electric. People gathered in the park, holding signs with messages of hope and unity. The lawyer felt a wave of emotion wash over him as he looked around. Families were there, along with young people, elders, and local leaders. They were all coming together to stand against injustice. The lawyer took a moment to thank everyone for being there, reminding them that their voices mattered and that change could happen when they stood together. As they marched through the streets, chants of justice for all filled the air. It was a powerful sight. People of all ages walking side by side, showing their determination to demand accountability from the police. Bystanders watched, some joined in, and others cheered them on. The lawyer felt a renewed sense of hope. This was what community looked like, people coming together for a common cause. Throughout the march, they passed by the police station. The lawyer had arranged for police officers to be present, not as opponents, but as participants in the dialogue. Some officers stood outside, watching, while others were seen mingling with the crowd, listening to the concerns being voiced. The lawyer knew that building trust would take time, but he was encouraged to see police officers engaging with the community instead of viewing them as an adversary. As the march concluded, the lawyer spoke again, this time encouraging people to continue the conversation. He emphasized the importance of reaching out to their local leaders and representatives, urging them to listen to the community's concerns. He reminded everyone that their voices could create lasting change, not just in the police department, but in the entire community. After the march, the Community Justice Alliance continued to meet, focused on actionable steps they could take to promote ongoing dialogue with the police. They discussed ways to establish regular community police meetings where residents could voice their concerns and suggestions in a safe environment. They wanted to create a bridge between the police and the community, fostering understanding and cooperation. The lawyer felt proud to be part of this movement. He knew that it was just the beginning, but it was a powerful start. The community was energized and ready to fight for justice, and he was excited to see how far they could go together. With each meeting and each conversation, they were not only raising awareness, but also building a sense of community that would last. It was clear that they were on a journey, one that would require patience, resilience, and unwavering commitment, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the weeks passed after the successful march, the Community Justice Alliance became a driving force in the neighborhood. The lawyer felt a renewed sense of purpose as he met regularly with the group, discussing plans and gathering feedback from community members. They worked hard to ensure that their voices were not just heard, but also respected. One of their main goals was to create a regular forum where community members could meet with police officers. They wanted to establish a space where people could express their concerns and ask questions in a constructive way. The lawyer reached out to the police chief, who had been surprisingly receptive since the march. Together, they discussed how to create a safe environment for these meetings, emphasizing the importance of open dialogue. When the first community police meeting was announced, excitement filled the air. Flyers were distributed, and word spread quickly. People were eager to share their experiences and hear from the officers. The lawyer was hopeful that this meeting would be a significant step towards building trust between the community and the police. On the day of the meeting, the community center buzzed with energy. The lawyer arrived early, checking the seating arrangement and making sure everything was set up. He wanted everyone to feel welcome and comfortable. As people began to fill the room, he noticed a mix of nervousness and anticipation. Many had stories to tell, and he could see that some were ready to speak up. The meeting started with the lawyer welcoming everyone and explaining the purpose of the gathering. He urged everyone to share their thoughts and feelings respectfully. He introduced the police officers, who stood at the front, looking both serious and hopeful. The community members were eager to hear from them, and the room felt charged with potential. As the discussion began, several residents took the microphone. They spoke about their encounters with police, sharing both positive experiences and painful stories. Some talked about times they felt treated unfairly, while others expressed gratitude for officers who had gone above and beyond. The lawyer listened closely, taking notes and ensuring that each voice was acknowledged. The officers listened intently, nodding in understanding. When they responded, it was clear they were there to engage genuinely. They acknowledged the concerns raised and spoke about the challenges they faced as law enforcement officers. One officer shared his perspective, explaining how his training emphasized community engagement, but also highlighted the difficulties in building trust in certain neighborhoods. As the meeting continued, a dialogue began to form. Residents asked questions, and officers answered openly. The conversation flowed naturally, with both sides learning from each other. The lawyer felt a sense of hope as he witnessed the beginnings of understanding between the community and the police. He could see that people were beginning to recognize that they could have a conversation rather than a confrontation. However, not everything was smooth. Some tensions flared as individuals shared stories of frustration and fear. But the lawyer encouraged calm and reminded everyone of the importance of listening. He emphasized that they were all part of the same community and had a shared goal of safety and respect. Slowly, the atmosphere became more constructive, and people began to see the officers as allies rather than adversaries. At the end of the meeting, the lawyer felt a sense of accomplishment. The discussion had been lively and, at times, emotional, but it was necessary. People left the room feeling heard, and the police left with a better understanding of the community's concerns. The lawyer knew that this was just the beginning, but it was an important step toward building a relationship based on trust and transparency. As the weeks continued, the lawyer and the Community Justice Alliance remained committed to fostering these dialogues. They planned more meetings, determined to keep the conversation going. Each gathering brought new stories, new insights, and most importantly, a growing sense of community. The lawyer felt proud to be part of this movement, knowing that they were working together to create a better future for everyone. With each meeting, they were not only addressing issues of police misconduct, but also building bridges and creating a space where everyone felt valued and understood. The journey ahead would be challenging, but the lawyer was confident that with the support of the community, they could achieve meaningful change. The path to justice was a long one, but it was one they were ready to walk together. As the meetings between the community and the police became more frequent, the atmosphere of the neighborhood began to shift. People started to feel more empowered and involved in discussions about their safety and rights. The lawyer watched with pride as the Community Justice Alliance grew in numbers and influence. They were becoming a vital part of the community, bringing together individuals from all walks of life, united by their desire for change. One day, during a regular meeting, the lawyer proposed an idea that had been on his mind for a while. He suggested organizing a community safety workshop. The goal was to educate residents about their rights when interacting with law enforcement and to provide them with tools to advocate for themselves. Everyone in the room responded enthusiastically, excited about the prospect of learning and engaging in meaningful discussions. They quickly began planning the workshop, deciding to invite guest speakers, including legal experts and community leaders. The lawyer reached out to local organizations for support and resources, ensuring they could provide valuable information to the attendees. The excitement was palpable as the date approached. People talked about it everywhere, from coffee shops to schools. On the day of the workshop, the community center was filled with energy. Residents gathered in the spacious hall, chatting with one another as they awaited the start. The lawyer welcomed everyone, sharing his vision for the workshop and the importance of understanding their rights. He could see the eagerness in the crowd, and it fueled his passion to make this event meaningful. The first speaker was a local civil rights attorney who had years of experience dealing with police misconduct cases. She spoke clearly and passionately, explaining the rights that individuals have during police encounters. People listened intently, taking notes and asking questions. The lawyer was impressed by how engaged the audience was. He could tell that many were hearing this information for the first time and that it was empowering them. Next, a representative from a local community organization shared resources available to residents. She discussed how to file complaints, seek legal aid, and connect with supportive networks. The audience was surprised to learn about the various avenues they had at their disposal. Many took flyers and brochures, eager to share the information with their families and friends. As the workshop continued, small group discussions were encouraged. Participants shared personal experiences and brainstormed solutions for improving police-community relations. The lawyer moved around the room, listening to the conversations and providing guidance when needed. It warmed his heart to see people collaborating and coming together to find common ground. One of the participants, a young mother, bravely shared her story about an encounter with the police that left her feeling scared and powerless. Her voice shook as she spoke, but she continued, describing how she had learned to speak up after attending previous meetings. The room filled with empathy and support as others shared similar stories, offering words of encouragement and understanding. The workshop concluded with a call to action. The lawyer urged everyone to take what they had learned and apply it in their daily lives. He encouraged them to continue engaging with the police and to share the information with others in the community. The response was enthusiastic, and people left feeling inspired and ready to make a difference. In the following weeks, the impact of the workshop became evident. Residents began to approach police officers with more confidence, asking questions and engaging in conversations. The police department, noticing this shift, reached out to the lawyer, expressing their willingness to collaborate on future events. They wanted to be part of the solution, recognizing the importance of building a strong relationship with the community. As trust began to grow between the police and the community, the lawyer felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had witnessed firsthand the power of education and communication. People were no longer just passive bystanders. They were becoming active participants in shaping their own futures. With the support of the Community Justice Alliance and the local police, the lawyer knew they could continue to create positive change. He was proud to see the community coming together, advocating for their rights, and working towards a safer, more just society. It was a journey filled with challenges, but they were all committed to walking that path together, hand in hand, toward a brighter future. With the positive changes beginning to take root in the community, the lawyer felt a renewed sense of hope for the future. The workshops had sparked a conversation that extended beyond the initial meetings. People were not just discussing their rights, they were also exploring ways to create a more supportive and understanding environment among themselves and with law enforcement. To keep the momentum going, the Community Justice Alliance organized a follow-up workshop, this time focusing on conflict resolution and communication skills. The lawyer believed that these skills were essential for fostering a better relationship between the community and the police. If residents could express their concerns clearly and respectfully, it could lead to more productive interactions. As the date of the new workshop approached, the lawyer reached out to a local mediator who had experience working in community disputes. The mediator agreed to lead a session, emphasizing how effective communication could help de-escalate conflicts. The lawyer was excited. He knew that learning these skills would empower the community even more. On the day of the workshop, the atmosphere was lively. Residents chatted animatedly, eager to share their experiences and learn from one another. The lawyer welcomed everyone, explaining the focus of the day and the importance of understanding each other's perspectives. He encouraged everyone to participate and assured them that their voices mattered. The mediator started the session by introducing basic communication techniques, such as active listening and expressing feelings without blaming others. The participants engaged in role-playing exercises, practicing how to speak calmly and clearly during difficult conversations. The lawyer moved around the room, offering support and encouragement as people stepped out of their comfort zones. One young man, who had previously been shy about speaking in public, found the courage to share a personal story about a tense encounter he had with the police. He practiced using the new techniques he had learned, expressing his feelings without anger. As he spoke, the room fell silent, and everyone listened closely. When he finished, the crowd erupted in applause, appreciating his bravery and honesty. Seeing the confidence of participants grow was inspiring for the lawyer. He recognized that these moments were not just about learning techniques. They were about building trust and understanding among community members. The more they practiced, the more they realized that they could advocate for themselves in a constructive way. As the workshop progressed, people began to share not only their struggles, but also their hopes for the future. A woman spoke about wanting to see more community events where neighbors could get to know each other better. Another participant suggested organizing family-friendly gatherings to strengthen bonds within the neighborhood. The lawyer encouraged these ideas, seeing the potential for deeper connections. At the end of the workshop, the group reflected on what they had learned and how they could apply it in their lives. They talked about organizing a community picnic, where everyone could come together for a day of fun, food, and conversation. The lawyer loved the idea and offered to help coordinate the event, emphasizing that it could be a great way to strengthen relationships within the community. As the community prepared for the picnic, excitement filled the air. People volunteered to help with food, games, and activities. The lawyer worked closely with local businesses to secure donations for the event, and soon, everything was falling into place. He could feel the sense of unity growing stronger as more people became involved in the planning. On the day of the picnic, the park was transformed into a vibrant space filled with laughter and joy. Families set up picnic blankets, and children ran around playing games. The smell of grilled food filled the air, and the sound of music played softly in the background. The lawyer felt a warmth in his heart as he watched the community come together. Throughout the day, people mingled, shared stories, and enjoyed each other's company. The picnic became a celebration of their progress and a reminder of how far they had come together. The lawyer took the opportunity to speak with many community members, thanking them for their involvement and commitment to creating positive change. As the sun began to set, the lawyer reflected on the day. He felt grateful to be part of this journey, witnessing the growth of trust, understanding, and unity within the community. The picnic was not just an event. It was a symbol of their collective strength and determination to continue working together for a better future. With each gathering and conversation, they were building a foundation for lasting change, and the lawyer was excited to see what lay ahead. After the success of the community picnic, the sense of unity in the neighborhood grew even stronger. People were excited about what they could achieve together, and the lawyer felt a wave of optimism as he watched this transformation unfold. Inspired by the connections formed at the picnic, the Community Justice Alliance decided it was time to take their efforts to the next level. During their next meeting, they discussed ideas for a community project that would address a specific need in their area. The lawyer encouraged everyone to think about issues that affected them daily. After some discussion, a common theme emerged: the need for better access to resources, especially for families struggling to make ends meet. This realization sparked a new idea: creating a resource fair that would connect families with local services and organizations. The group was enthusiastic about the idea. They began brainstorming what the fair could include, everything from health services to job training and educational resources. The lawyer emphasized that it was essential to involve local organizations that could provide valuable information and assistance. They wanted the fair to be a one-stop shop for families seeking help. The planning process was full of energy and creativity. Community members took on various roles, reaching out to local organizations and businesses to secure their participation. The lawyer helped by contacting nonprofits and social services to ensure they could provide helpful resources. As the date approached, excitement buzzed through the community. Families were eager to learn about the support available to them. On the day of the resource fair, the community center was bustling with activity. Tables were set up, filled with information, brochures, and friendly faces ready to help. The lawyer arrived early to ensure everything was in order. He greeted volunteers and helped set up the space. He felt a sense of pride seeing the community come together for such a meaningful event. As families began to arrive, the atmosphere filled with warmth and anticipation. Children ran around, laughing and playing while their parents visited various booths. The lawyer took a moment to look around, feeling grateful for the connections that had formed over the past few months. This event was not just about providing resources. It was about building relationships and showing that the community cared for one another. Throughout the day, families engaged with representatives from different organizations. They learned about food assistance programs, healthcare options, job training opportunities, and educational resources for their children. The lawyer moved from booth to booth, talking to families and making sure they were finding the information they needed. He encouraged them to ask questions and explore their options. One mother approached him, visibly relieved. She shared how she had been struggling to find reliable childcare and was unsure how to navigate the available options. The lawyer listened carefully and directed her to a local organization specializing in child care resources. He could see her stress begin to ease as she learned about the support available to her. As the day continued, the community spirit was palpable. People shared their experiences and connected with one another. The lawyer noticed how conversations flowed naturally as neighbors offered advice and support. It was heartwarming to see families leaning on each other, forming bonds that would strengthen their community. Towards the end of the fair, the lawyer gathered everyone together for a brief closing speech. He thanked everyone for their participation and emphasized the importance of continuing to support one another. He encouraged families to keep sharing their stories and to reach out whenever they needed help. His words resonated deeply, and the room filled with applause as he spoke. As families left, many expressed their gratitude for the fair. They felt empowered and more connected to their community. The lawyer couldn't help but smile as he watched people leave with bags of information and hope. This was exactly what he had envisioned: a community coming together to support one another and create a brighter future. In the weeks that followed, the resource fair had lasting effects. Families continued to connect with organizations they had met, and many reported finding the help they needed. The Community Justice Alliance received positive feedback, which motivated them to plan more events focused on community needs. As the community continued to thrive after the resource fair, the lawyer and the Community Justice Alliance felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had successfully connected families with the resources they needed, and now the focus shifted towards sustainability. They wanted to ensure that the community's progress was not just a one-time event, but rather a series of ongoing efforts that could create lasting change. During their next meeting, the lawyer suggested that they form a community resource committee. This committee would be responsible for keeping the lines of communication open between residents and local organizations. It would also oversee the planning of future events that address the community's needs. Everyone in the room agreed that this was an excellent idea, recognizing the importance of continued engagement. The group spent time discussing who would be involved in the committee and what roles each member would take on. They wanted to ensure that it represented diverse voices from the community. This was not just about the lawyer or the original members of the alliance. It was about including as many perspectives as possible. After much discussion, they decided to invite residents from various backgrounds and experiences to join. As they began to form the committee, the lawyer felt optimistic about what this could achieve. They planned to meet regularly to discuss ongoing issues, review feedback from the community, and brainstorm new projects. The goal was to create a framework that would allow them to respond quickly to the needs of residents as they arose. One of the first projects the committee decided to tackle was the issue of food insecurity. Several families had shared their struggles to access healthy food options, and the committee recognized that this was a significant concern. They decided to partner with local food banks and grocery stores to organize a monthly food distribution event. This would provide families with fresh produce and essential groceries. The committee began reaching out to local businesses and organizations, seeking donations and support. The lawyer played a crucial role in these efforts, using his connections to gather resources and coordinate logistics. As word spread about the upcoming food distribution event, the community responded positively. Many residents volunteered to help, eager to give back and support their neighbors. On the day of the food distribution, the community center was alive with activity. Tables were set up outside, filled with boxes of fresh fruits and vegetables, along with other essential items. The atmosphere was friendly and welcoming, with volunteers chatting and laughing as they prepared for the families who would arrive. The lawyer felt a sense of pride watching the community come together to support one another. Families began to arrive, greeted by friendly faces and the smell of fresh food. The lawyer moved among the crowd, ensuring everyone felt welcomed and valued. Many families expressed their gratitude for the help, and it warmed his heart to see the relief on their faces. It was clear that this event was not just about food, it was about community, kindness, and connection. As families filled their bags with groceries, the volunteers took the time to chat with them. They asked about their needs and shared information about additional resources available in the community. The sense of camaraderie was palpable. People shared recipes and cooking tips while kids played together in the background. After the event, the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Families felt supported, and many expressed their desire to help with future distributions. The lawyer and the Community Resource Committee realized they had tapped into something special, a sense of unity that made the community stronger. Inspired by the success of the food distribution, the committee started brainstorming more projects that could address other needs within the community. They considered educational workshops for parents and kids, focusing on topics like financial literacy, job readiness, and health awareness. Each idea sparked excitement as they envisioned how these workshops could empower families and promote growth. With each initiative, the lawyer noticed how engaged the community had become. People were not just participants. They were active contributors, sharing their ideas and collaborating on solutions. This collective spirit was transforming the neighborhood into a place where everyone felt a sense of belonging. As the weeks turned into months, the lawyer felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had witnessed a remarkable change, not just in the community's dynamics, but also in how individuals viewed themselves and their roles within it. No longer were they passive bystanders. They were advocates, supporters, and friends. As the Community Resource Committee continued its work, the lawyer and the members realized they needed to strengthen their outreach efforts. They wanted to ensure that everyone in the neighborhood knew about the resources available to them and felt encouraged to participate. They discussed the importance of spreading the word through various channels, social media, local bulletin boards, and even door-to-door visits. One evening, the committee gathered to brainstorm a plan. They decided to create flyers that would highlight their upcoming events and resources. The lawyer suggested including stories from community members about how the resources had helped them. Personal stories would add a human touch and inspire others to seek help. Everyone agreed that this was a great idea, and they set to work writing testimonials and designing the flyers. As they worked, the energy in the room was infectious. Members shared their own experiences and ideas. One woman talked about how the food distribution had made a difference for her family, while another member shared how attending the workshops had given her confidence to pursue a new job. The lawyer encouraged everyone to continue sharing their stories, as it helped build a sense of community and connectedness. Once the flyers were ready, the committee organized a neighborhood walk to distribute them. They paired up and went door to door, chatting with residents and leaving flyers at each home. The lawyer felt a renewed sense of purpose as they walked through the neighborhood. It was heartwarming to see committee members engaging with their neighbors, sharing smiles, and having conversations. Many people were excited to learn about the resources available, and some even expressed interest in volunteering. As they walked, they also listened to residents' concerns and ideas. They made note of the issues that came up frequently, such as the need for more youth activities and support for seniors. This feedback would be valuable for planning future events. The lawyer was pleased to see the committee taking an active role in understanding the community's needs. After the walk, the committee gathered again to discuss the feedback they received. They brainstormed new ideas to address the concerns that had been raised. One suggestion was to organize a youth sports league to encourage kids to be active and make friends. Another idea was to host a series of workshops specifically for seniors, focusing on health, wellness, and technology. The committee was excited about these new initiatives, recognizing that they could help bring the community closer together. In the following weeks, the committee worked diligently to plan these events. They reached out to local sports organizations to get guidance on starting the youth league and connected with senior centers to develop engaging workshops. The lawyer helped with the logistics, ensuring everything ran smoothly. The Youth Sports League kicked off on a bright Saturday morning. Kids of all ages showed up, eager to participate. The lawyer arrived early to help set up the fields and welcome families. He watched with a smile as children formed teams, laughing and bonding over their shared love for sports. The energy was contagious, and parents gathered nearby, chatting and cheering for their kids. Meanwhile, the first senior workshop took place in the community center. The lawyer was thrilled to see so many seniors come together, eager to learn and connect with one another. The workshop focused on technology, teaching participants how to use smartphones and computers to stay in touch with family and access resources. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and excitement as seniors learned new skills that would help them feel more connected. As these initiatives flourished, the community began to notice the positive changes. The Youth League created a space for kids to socialize, stay active, and develop teamwork skills. The senior workshops fostered friendships among participants, and many reported feeling more empowered to use technology in their daily lives. The lawyer was proud of how far the community had come. People were engaging more with each other, and the sense of belonging was growing stronger. Residents began to see the value of their contributions, whether through volunteering or simply participating in events. The Community Resource Committee had successfully created a supportive network where everyone felt valued and heard. With each new project, the lawyer saw hope blossoming. He realized that this journey was not just about addressing immediate needs. It was about building a sustainable future. The community was learning to work together, to share their strengths, and to uplift one another. The lawyer felt inspired, knowing that they were laying the groundwork for a brighter tomorrow.